All right. Good evening, everybody. So let's do a quick mic check. Let's see if you guys can hear me. Let me know if you're able to hear me clearly. And I'll give it a second for that one to kick in. You guys can hear me? I can hear myself, but we'll see if you guys can hear me. So, all right, cool. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So, favorite time of the evening, chart school time. It's so funny. I got to tell you guys a real funny story before we get started. So yesterday I was just like dying. Like I just could not. It didn't matter what. Like we ate dinner and everything, and I was like, I need to sleep before I do chart school because I am just wiped out completely. Right. So I took like a little 30-minute power nap, and then I realized that like I get on chart school, and then I get off, and I'm just absolutely jacked. Like after I'll go save the baby, I get the baby back to sleep. I grab ice cream. She wakes up and sees that I have ice cream. She wants to eat my ice cream, and then she goes back to sleep. But it's like 12:30 at night. I'm like still jacked. I'm like, oh, I was like, I don't know, man. So I just want to start off by saying thank you guys so much for joining me on these things. They are a lot of fun to do, and obviously I get jacked up. I don't think it's just the music. I think it's, you know, the talking, the camaraderie, all that kind of stuff, guys. So I appreciate you guys on here, and like I said, it's an absolute blast to help you guys with this kind of stuff. Hopefully, you guys are learning stuff. It seems like everybody is. Everybody keeps giving good feedback, and it's awesome stuff. So make sure you follow us here, and then if you guys can also jump across to YouTube, just check the YouTube link if you guys want to see it. Do me a favor and hit a like or subscribe on that screen. Once we get 100 people over on the new YouTube page, we can actually brand it more towards our name, so it actually makes sense for people instead of just some random letters and live. Just so it's easier, just like how we're like Keep Trading Simple over here. We'll be the same thing with YouTube / Keep Trading Simple there. So if you guys can do it, I appreciate it. That's why some of us can't sleep. Yeah, Josh, I agree. Yes, that's music. Just something about it. I mean, it's not, it just, I don't know. Yeah, it does pump you up, when you listen to it. But yeah, so it's my fault, Ernest, that you don't sleep anymore and do nothing but make money. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And by the way, I didn't use your name to Top Step, but I did say that I got this guy that he doesn't need a reset. He's that good. And they're like, really? Are you sure? I'm like, I'm positive he's that good. So we'll see. No pressure, buddy. No pressure. But yeah, so I did find that out. Like I said, in forums, guys, if you saw it, there's actually 2 discounts that apply. One of them is by using our affiliate link. That's kind of a second discount on there, and I'll run through guys tomorrow. I want to make sure I test it before I shoot that one out. Like I said, I'm totally confused today about that email, but I think we got it fixed. So with that said, let me switch off of this one. And yeah, so the yen. Let's talk about the yen. I don't know. The only word I can think about. Hold on, maybe not a word. Maybe I will do. Hold on, let me see here. I'm gonna find a graphic for you guys. So, what did the yen do today? As far as strength goes, this is what the yen did today. It collapsed. It just fell through the floor, right? I mean, look at these totals here. Down 210, down 173, down 235. Yeah. But then you have like things like the dollar CAD 3, 49 is a little shy for the euro, pound 19, nothing big. Again, dollar Swiss 85. That's a respectable number. That's more than its ATR for the day. Aussie was not very big either. You can see the difference between the the Aussie dollar and the Aussie yen. I mean, this is down 29, right? This is down 174. Okay, it's a big day. And again, you expect to see big numbers as well out of the pound yen when the sucker moves. It moves. But again, dollar yen, again, this one has like a 50 pip ATR, 54, 53, somewhere around there. Doing 4 times your ATR in one day. Yeah, I've got my butt kicked by the yen. Yeah, I mean, but Josh, think of it this way. Okay, so we can say this, in a negative kind of tone that yes, you got your butt kicked by the yen today, but just think about the guys that were on the opposite side of your trade. Okay, think about the guys on the opposite side of your trade. Now, things like a 200, things like this is just not normal again. So it's, but again, remember, there's 2 sides to every trade. If you got your butt kicked, somebody made a killing today on that thing. So, yeah, and again, going into tomorrow, what do we got tomorrow? Bam, we got non-farm. Okay, so again, today was kind of a big day for it. Tomorrow, again, the previous was 3.7. People are forecasting a 3.6. So they were actually forecasting a drop in the unemployment rate. I mean, supposedly the economy is horrible. We need rate cuts, right? All this stuff is bad, but yet the unemployment rate is going down again. That's what they're forecasting. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Actually, while we're here, let me see if Daily Fix has any commentary on it? No, it just talks about trade deal basically. And again, this is kind of funny too. Click on this one. So it kind of gives you an idea of the sentiment. So at this point, 71% of clients over at IG are long the dollar yen. So it's obviously a bearish sentiment, and it's moved. This is crazy, right? Minus 7.2%. Okay, and again, one of the other websites that we can look at this is, my FX book. Okay, again, there's so many different websites you guys can use here. Go down to where is it? The heat map. Check this one out. We'll do daily. You guys can see. Do percents. Okay, you guys can start looking at some of these numbers, and they kind of get crazy in here too. Okay, the weekly 1.38, 1.57. Okay, again, not the worst, right? But basically in one day. And again, this day is already switched. That's why the numbers are kind of the same as the 4 hour. It doesn't do a rolling day, unfortunately. But again, weekly, you guys can see that it's pretty big. All that's basically in one day. All right. But again, we can do this. I can do pip change in 24 hours. I can do percentage change in 24 hours. 2%, 2.38, 1.83. Okay, so again, this is the biggie. But crazy stuff, right? Crazy stuff. Yeah, probably James on the other side of it. All right, Josh, you get 2 points for that one. I don't know how to do it. No, I can't do cheers in your own channel. There's a way to do like bits or something like that. There's things that. All right, so there's a way that we can track this and kind of have games in here. It basically for like every hour you get a certain number of like bits and things, and you can like kind of donate back to the channel and stuff, and it gives you like icons and stuff. But I can't. Yeah, there's all kinds of different ones in here. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so James isn't here to defend himself, so we'll have to pick on James later when he's back. Yeah, no emojis now. So yeah, it's probably James. We'll blame it on James. I think he said he was going to be late anyway. So, all right, so that's where we're at. You guys can see the percentages are just absolutely phenomenal, or huge right now. Again, 212, and we'll look at those inside of the chart. So, I do believe that, again, I'll leave this up to you guys as well. So it looks like Ninja has gotten its issue or its syncing issue with Oanda fixed right now, but we've been doing everything on the IG charts. I'm cool staying on the IG charts if you guys want. It's totally fine. I know a couple of you have shown some interest in it. I actually talked to their affiliate person today, and I asked for new links, and unfortunately the link generator is on vacation this week, and he'll be back on Friday, so he said he can give me all the information on Monday, but I'll give you guys links for them on Monday. I'll post them inside of Discord, but then I'll also post them in chat here. Nice, 117 pips in the pound yen on Nadex. Nice. If that's a daily contract, you're up, what, 5.5, almost 6 strikes? Yeah, that's a nice little move. That's good. All right, so let's just jump into the charts. We're going to start from the top. This is one of the pairs. Let me drag this all the way to the back here. This is one of the pairs that I believe it was Vic that asked to look at that one last night, and this was an oil pair that, again, it's going to be huge. Whoops. Oh, let me see if I can get over here. There. But so, what's up, Mike? So yeah, so I think what we're going to do is I'm going to stay with the IG charts for a while. Like I said, it doesn't have any of the other indicators in there, but it just seems like it's working out well, jumping between platforms and everything. And a lot of you guys have asked questions, and like I said, Nadex is very happy that I'm using these charts now. I don't know. I'm not sure. They're like, yeah, like you're using everything. We love you. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So we'll just continue using these. So let's start at the top from the Aussie yen. Obviously, the Aussie yen is the biggest one. All right, so a couple interesting things I want to talk about with Aussie yen. So again, this is one of those ones that is just dropping, and we were really concerned about what was going to happen over in this area, right? Because we kind of had this little pop, sideways pop again, right? And we looked at it and we marked it off. So like the interesting thing here is obviously we were in a downtrend, right? So in looking at the 4 hour, you can see that we had 2 zones marked off. And again, that was this pop here and this pop here, right? Those are the 2 that we marked off. The interesting thing about this is even though this thing was a train wreck to the downside, look what we had, right? This dropped. First off, it hit this area, then popped. Grabbed more orders. Dropped again, hit this area, popped up, and then bam, it fell off the cliff. Now, here's the interesting thing about this, okay? This would have been a great grab had you been able to get into it. Now, obviously in a downtrend, This one, and the interesting thing about this one is too, as fast as this dropped, you guys see what's sitting right here? This one did actually retest. Okay, so I think you can see it on the 3. Yeah, kind of. You guys see that? So again, here is the basing level up top, right? I'm going to mark these in yellow because I don't really use yellow for zones, so you guys can see it. So there, let me do the edit on this one. We're going to use yellow, okay? So there was the first entry, right? And again, it popped up, but again, kind of expected. Grabbed more orders, drove through, and what did it do? It formed a base here. It actually went down and retested back up. Let me see, maybe it's 2 hour. You can see it. Yeah. Here was the clear. And again, what do we talk about all the time? We talk about breaching, retesting, and collapsing. Okay. So with that being said, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, yes, this thing dropped. How nice would it have been? What did it do? It bounced off a level. It went up to grab more orders. It came back down and breached through. It retested, and then it launched, okay? So again, these things work. And again, that's why you have to bounce around in multiple time frames. So it's up 143 at this point, okay? 143 is some nice movement. Even if you took yourself out over here when it just kind of started petering around. Again, remember, if we click this little information icon over here, you guys can see that each pip is worth $9.34, right? So at one standard lot, again, because we're talking combine stuff now, right? $9.34 times 143, 1,300. Phase 1 is done, right? And for those of you that aren't sure what I mean by that one, bring this across. We'll click on that thing so it tags it. There you go. Details. Oh, it's not going to do it in there. I hate when it does that. Here you go. Account parameters. What you need to do, you need to make $1,000. Okay. So again, one trade, you done, right? And even if you were in stage 2, again, you're not far from it. But that's one trade, So again, not a bad little kind of setup there, right? And again, all it was is a pattern we talked about. We had these 2 areas marked off. We knew that it popped down to here. And again, in a downtrend, we're using this as a target, right? Not as an entry. This was a target because we were in a downtrend. It popped up. It grabbed more orders, and it's like, it's going to make another attempt to the downside. That's pretty interesting. So the risk, had you taken this risk, saying, okay, I'm gonna take a shot back down, even if it was just this area, your risk was 11 pips. Okay, 11 pips risk. Not too bad, And again, had you been going for just back to the bounce again, it was 31. So it was basically a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio back down to the zone in this bit of a kind of a bounce back up again. So even a 3-to-1 is good. And when it blew through, could you have continued to hold your position? Sure. And then what you could have done is when it broke through the bottom, you could have taken I'll use this kind of profit target here that we had set up. I'll change this to dark purple. Go solid. Okay. If this was your entry and this was your risk area, you could have taken your risk and put your risk here as soon as it broke through and said, hey, I listen to Brian all the time. He said, when we go through a zone for this momentum breakout, it's going to break through, retest, and then drop. And then as soon as you started the drop below here, again, you're already positive because this is where you got in, right? Drug it here. It put in the blue. It retested and then started to collapse. And as this thing is, again, this collapsed fast, right? But as soon as it broke the bottom here, drag it down to the top of the green. Okay, and then when it goes all the way down here, watch it. It puts a little bit of a red in, gives you a green, closes below right here, drag this all the way down here. Okay, so this is where you're sitting right now, locked in, locked in. Okay, now again, you'd be doing this more on this time frame, right? But you guys can see it here. It dropped, right? Dropped down. What did it do? It retested up. It snagged the zone, dropped back down again. Look, even if you just took it off of here, you had no heat, right? Down, retest, drop. Again, went over your positive, 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 boom, boom, boom. Okay, so again, there we go. That's the setup, guys, that we've been talking about. So where we are now. Okay, again, we are driving through to the bottom of this thing. I'm so excited. I can't wait till this wick is completely gone from our analysis and it's just not there anymore. Okay, we are just pulling down and it's just going, and I'm happy about it. Now, where we are now, it is still driving down. We have not hit anything that is telling us we're ready to turn. And again, because of this area, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. We have not gotten any type of confirmation that we have switched trend as well. So it's kind of still in this kind of extension run to the downside. Not willing to go long on anything. It's just more kind of where are we going to take ourselves out of it at this point. Um, Kind of where we are right now. Would I want to jump into this? No. It's definitely been a very, very kind of extended range move to the downside. When it hits anything, I don't think it's going to have a lot of resistance going back up. And it's just, again, you don't necessarily want to mess with that. If we do pull back, again, if we get kind of a nice pull away here to the downside, we will start to have some, some basing. And, again, this would be kind of a launch point to add into the position a little bit more if we go lower. Again, take small risk in it. There's no point in taking large risk. But most of the move has already occurred for today. And again, jumping into something after it's dropped all the way down is basically how you end up, selling it at the bottom or, buying it at the top. So just be a little bit cautious with that, all right? Like I said, the ship is basically sailed on this one, but this one is just, the yen is just collapsed, it's gone. It's absolutely smoking this one, all right? So going to the Aussie New Zealand. Now, Aussie New Zealand, again, also a nice movement. This is one we kind of planned out. Again, here's where we are right now at 19, and here's where we were last night. Okay, we were talking about being in this upper area. We talked about snagging this little top section here, right? This was the entry, and again, you had another entry here, right? This happened at 11 p.m. last night. Hold on, we're a little bit off. 9. Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, so we did have another entry, and again, I could extend this box further. So there was plenty of time for you guys to get in. And we also drew this little line here and said, hey, listen, if we break here, this is going to be an area that we bounce off of. And it did. It bounced. It came back up, but then there was another trigger that you could have used. And this was the original target that we had down here, right? And it broke through and it's kind of pulled up and retested. But again, 4-hour level. Okay, again, bit choppy over here. So we're doing this off the 4-hour. Here was our 4-hour, the 4-hour zone. 43 pip risk, but then when we dialed it down, we used, not even that one. We used this little wick over wick, right? Ran this along the top. It hit here, kept going, still valid, has not been broken yet. Hit here again, and again, if you wanted to use just this recent high and not the old one, you guys could surely do that as well. And you could have taken it from here and used that zone. And what happened? It hit here, it hit here, it hit here. So no excuse not to be able to get into this one. And again, this is tiny risk. All right. Had you set this, your risk on this would have been about 6 pips. And no, not what I want to do. And again, to the downside, you guys, again, even if we used this target here, which you obviously could have done, that was the start of the move, that was about 60 pips in the other direction. So again, that is a, right here, because that's the start. 60 pips. Whoops. So that is a 10-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade. And again, if it went a little bit lower, oh well, you made 10-to-1 on your money on that one. Okay. So that's good. Yeah, retail sales for the Aussie, right? Correct? Yeah, for the Aussie. So because we have this big movement, things I'd be looking for is somewhat of a bounce up. Again, 60 pips is definitely something that retail sales can shoot us up to. If we go back up, again, I'd be looking to kind of short this to the top side. Downside, I'm a little bit cautious because, again, the next kind of area is down here at 102.96 or like 103 basically, about 80 pips from where we are right now. So shooting 80 pips down, a little bit difficult. But this one being a positive number for retail sales could definitely send this back up into this zone. If you wanted to take this off of reversal, we do have the green, we do have the red pullback, and we do have the green. So there is somewhat of an entry right here, but unfortunately, to put it off the bottom, the low, you're risking about 28, which is a little bit too much for me on a 30-minute chart for a pair like this. So we'll see. Again, this is not the best of the three to typically do news on. Let's look at Aussie dollar real quick, and we should be able to get this in 9 minutes. Okay, we broke through the bottom. Again, we had that bounce. Okay, we hit it, we bounced, we went above. Okay, so there was our trigger. And again, this one also gave you the same entry. You guys can see we had this single wick against the wall, right? What happened? It broke it, it came back and retested it, gave you multiple opportunities, and then boom, it collapsed to the floor. So again, gave you the same type of setup. We popped, broke, came up, retested, and went down. Here was your trigger. Went through. Now, where we are on this one, same thing. We're still stuck in the wick, although we're a little bit farther down. Let's see. How far is that one? 48 pips. So it definitely can make it back up to that zone. And again, I like the way that this turned here. Again, this was the prior zone that it bounced off of. If you were not familiar and you did not have that marked off, you would have had this wick over wick marked. Okay, and again, same thing. A little bit more risk, but you would have, again, you still would have gotten into the trade. You still would have collapsed down to the downside on that one and still been able to catch it. So, again, two different ways to actually trade that one, right? Now, for this near term, if we do pop up, I'd be willing to take this for a short back down to this level where we are right now. So the entry on this one would be about 68, 68, 62, taking it back down to 68. Okay. Potential trade, it would be something along, let's just set this red, something along that line to this. Again, if it pops. Okay, something along those lines is what I'd be looking for if we get a pop to the top side. Okay, but again, nice little setup off of this one. It was 60 risk. I'm sorry, it wasn't 60 risk. It was 60 reward for about 17. So a little bit over 3 to 1. All right, is what that one was. Again, Ernest, what do you call it? Is it which over which is what you call them now? I think Ernest calls them which over which. But yeah, so that's what we kind of ran into on this piece over here. Again, to the downside. See where that one pops. There we go. Yeah, I think he calls it whichever which. As we're doing that, let me jump over to euro pound. Yeah, whichever which. All right. So we definitely had a downward momentum in this one. Again, we've been rallying back. We had this upper area. Again, it collapsed, it went down, and then just kind of based on us. Not too much. Again, we're right here. Okay, this is 19. If you look back, 19 was right here. So we'd already pulled away. If you were long in this position, I'm sorry, if you were short, it obviously went against you today. It did actually go a little bit higher than this kind of first little bit here, which again, thought a lot of wicks here. So again, wasn't super confident with that one. Where we are now, I think, I don't know. I think we have news tomorrow morning too. No, just U.S. news tomorrow. I actually thought we would have more off this BOE number. Everything basically came in exactly as predicted. I mean, literally across the board. I mean, even the asset purchase. I mean, like everything was dead on, and there was nothing. They didn't give us any signs or anything in here. So I actually thought we would have more movement, or a little bit more of kind of an explosiveness on it, and we really didn't. It just kind of it did this up and down. So it was just nothing exciting. It was like blah blah blah. So I am still bearish this one. I know we're pushing back up, but it barely grazed the top of the surface. I'm still bearish in that area. Coming in somewhere around 91, 91-ish area before we get to the 92. Definitely looking for some type of confirmation short back to the downside. Depending on the level that we have formed and how big the actual kind of red, green, red pattern is, depending what the risk is, I'll have a target somewhere probably. I'll probably move a first target here, and then second target would still be this dotted line. This is supposed to be dotted. Yeah, like that. Okay. That would be target 1. Target 2 would still be down here on the bottom side. On the 15-minute, let me bring this back up to the 30. You guys can see we kind of touched it, went around, dropped, and we dropped right around this basing level, kind of in here, and then just flatlined. If you were short this position, this is kind of the telltale sign, like, okay, it's time to get out. We've spent way too many hours. It's done nothing. Time to get out. Okay, it's just stuck in that area. Okay, going across to euro yen. So euro yen is a little bit more of a play. Obviously, it has the yen involved with it. Again, this is another one of those ones that just literally collapsed. If you remember, we had these kind of purple targets in, and we talked about how it needed to kind of travel back to the bottom. It obviously did that. Again, you guys can see this one. Again, it's been a long, long time since this one has been this low. Okay. And again, not a lot of pullbacks, right? I mean, we had a base here. We had a little bit single wicket right here, but I mean, it base dropped, a little bit of pullback dropped. I mean, this one's just collapsing. So, a little bit harder of a position to get into. Okay. Both profit targets were hit, and then it just continued to collapse. So if you're at a computer, you could have obviously trailed this one. I mean, again, we were talking last night, we're here. Where are we at? Right in here is where we were last night. Okay. And again, this this dashed line, I said if we broke here, this would be your target. So it completed. But it's one of those things that like you're like, yay, not that one. You're like, yay, it completed, but then you look at how far it actually moved, and you're like, ah, womp, 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 right? So you could have grabbed 40 on that one, but it went a lot farther down. It's moved at this point a total of 155, so it's kind of like, ah. But again, hasn't been actual signal. So had you been at your computer, you could have been trailing this to the downside. This would have been a nice one to trail, and you're still actually going. So, there are benefits to completely walking away and setting and forget it, and there are benefits to actually manage your trade. Nice thing about managing this with a 30-minute and not, say, a 5-minute, had you been doing this one, is you only have to check this every 30 minutes. And again, if it's just pulling away, going, you could have trailed this one. Had you had like a 30-pip trailing stop loss on this one, again, you could have kept trailing this one to the downside. This is a perfect example, and I didn't do this in all disclosure. I did not do it on this one. This is the absolute perfect example of where you would have done add-ons. Okay, you guys remember that I brought up add-ons a couple weeks ago and how they can really multiply your trading. Okay, now again, you can't do add-ons inside of your combine accounts because you can only limit yourself at 2. But again, once you got your entry and you had your red, green, red, and it moved, past your risk, that's where you can start doing your add-ons. Okay, using something like this, if this is what our total risk was in the position, okay, there's your risk. Once you've moved this much in risk and you have a red, green, red, you add more. So right about here is where you could have added a second position. Okay, right in this area. And actually, we would have done it on a lower time frame, but actually, I technically guess you could have done it here. Okay, and then you would add another one here, and another one here, another one somewhere in this area. But again, you guys can see, I mean, this thing just trailing down again and again and again, and there's just so much. I'd have to figure out what the ATR is for this time frame to give it to you correctly. Looks like it's about 12. There's 9. So like about 12. So if I drew a box with about 12 pips risk, we'd be okay. I forget how to get rid of this. There we go. So I'd have to use at least a 12 pip box. Oh, it's tiny. Yeah, so I would just use our risk level. But yeah, so this is definitely a trailer to the downside. You could have made a lot of money on this one today. So the 40 pips, unfortunately, is kind of like, wah, wah, wah. I made 40 pips, yay, but there's 155. But again, it's not every day that the euro does this. This is a standard move. This is the, looking from here to here. This is what we talked about last night, taking the short if it broke this level. And that's exactly what it did, banked 40 pips to the downside. And again, had you taken it short from up here, you even captured even more. But again, it based, last night, if you remember what we talked about, is if we get any type of basing before that level, that would be our risk. So in this one, our risk level would have been this. Okay. You would have had that as far as your risk. There's the basing level before. It would have been, oops, I changed the wrong color. You've been risking 14 for 60. Okay. All right, let's go. I just heard the beep. And the beep says 0.4, good number, right? Again, we just talked about that a second ago. So let's go back over to the Aussie pairs and see what that was able to do. We should have had more movement in there than that. That's disappointing for a good number like that. Man, there's no pop on that one at all. There should be more of a pop in that. Let me check something real quick. Hold on. Now I'm curious because I didn't even check this before. Let's see something here real quick. Load up. Let me pull this profile. Let's see something here. Nobody tweets in Australia. No, unfortunately, no. Okay, that one kind of says the same thing too. That's really surprising that this is absolutely flat right now. Nobody tweets in Australia. No, they just don't have Twitter over there. All right, yeah. So I don't have my other one. Yep, free tweet. Yeah. So That should be giving us a pop. I don't know why. Again, that's a nice little. Again, this is not a huge number, but that's a nice percentage, and it's positive for the Aussie. So that should be a big mover. It is a high profile. Very curious why we're not seeing any type of pop in that one right now. Again, it is nighttime, but that is odd. We should be getting something out of that one. So that one might turn into some type of an overnight trade. So we'll see. I don't think it moved on any of the positions. I'll drop these down to 5. And a little bit of retracement, but not anything. That's weird. Can't explain that one, guys, but there should definitely be upward movement in that one. That should definitely be bringing some Aussie strength in there. And again, there was so much Aussie weakness against the yen. That should be giving us a little bit more of a pop than we're actually getting. I'm interested to see if this is going to be a delayed reaction for this thing popping up. Weird. All right, let's go to Aussie dollar then. That was a big nothing. Big old goose egg with that. All right, so here, we're in a downtrend setup mode now, right? Obviously in a downtrend. Remove the green, look at the anchor, go across. You obviously hit something here. You hit nothing to the downside. This one, again, this is one of those ones you guys may have gotten a bit frustrated with it. We are still back in an area of sellers, okay? And again, this was set up also last night. We talked about this red area if we breached into it. Again, weird thing about this one is we never actually got a close. So this one was a little bit more of a how do I get into the position type situation, right? And we talked about breaching this zone the third time. This little pullback is where your entry would have been. And it went down and it went lower. It didn't make it all the way to the downside. Now, question is, where do you get out when this situation happens? You know, you could still be holding it, right? Because if you look across, you can see the wicks here. It's easier actually to see on the 4-hour. This kind of drop, basing and dropping it did. It came back up to grab more orders, and that's where it's at right now. So you have the potential to hold it, but you know what a lot of people do is when you start to see some type of reversal, there's different ways you can do it. It could be a reversal color change, a green, red, green. It could also be when you break 2 levels, right? So what I mean by 2 levels is, and let's see if I can do this without putting those gigantic kind of circles on there. I'm going to put little circles and see if I can do the circle bit now. Oh, I forgot how it did it here. Okay, so it starts in the middle and then goes from there. So some of them are different. Some of them you draw from the side. Some of it's you draw from, you know, wherever this one's from the center. So let me change the colors to. Okay, you guys see these 2 blue dots over here? Okay, so this would have been 2 different level breaks. Okay, as price burst up, here is one level. Here's the second level. Okay, so in this case, you would have taken yourself out of this trade. I don't use that one. That one's confusing. This one right here. You would have taken yourself out right there. Okay. I'll change that to black to make it a little easier to see. All right. So this is your education component tonight. There is the color change, which you guys all know, but then the other aspect is when you have 2 levels broken, and again, you can call them support levels, resist levels. What do you want to? It's basically just 2 pivots to the downside. They're 2. In this case, it's 2 supply areas. When you have 2 level broken, you take yourself out. So the entry for this one again would have been the pullback, and it wouldn't have been that big. It would have been pullback into really that kind of single wick right there. Okay, that would have been your entry. I'll do it with a little box so it's a little easier so you guys can see it. It's there. Okay, there was your entry. As price went down, it continued to pull back a little bit. You were safe because of the single wick against a wall. Drop lower, kind of pull back up, continued to drop down again. And again, you could have been trailing to this level, but again, this is the first time that we had 2 level breaks to the downside. When it popped here, we had 1 level break, but then it respected this one and went down. And again, you may have been like, okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. Pulled back up and went lower, but then on this breach up, you wanted to make sure that you took yourself out. So that's one way to do it when you have 2 breaks. It would have kind of kept you in the trade a little bit longer. Now, where we are now, we are still in a downtrend setup. So technically speaking, we are at a trade setup right now, okay? We do have the green here. So again, if we're using the daily to determine our trend, we drop down to the 4-hour. The 4-hour is showing us right here that, yes, we are also inside of a wick against a wall, you know, kind of a setup right here. Now, it has gone a little bit deeper into the area, and it's a little bit harder of a situation to kind of dictate because, and I'll move this box over so you can see it a little bit, right? Okay, there's the zone. I can make the zone a little bit smaller. Like I can bring it to here and use the bottom of the body and bring it back down again. But unfortunately, this is still a pretty big area, right? We have not left the area. Haven't gotten any type of confirmation, right? Because we had a red kind of leaving the area. We had a green pop, but then the red didn't go as low as the green. So we haven't really necessarily gotten a confirmation entry back into it. Now, the way that this was formed, even though we have this little level right in here, if you were going to take this short, I would most likely attempt to take this back down into probably the lows, probably the 110.30 area to the downside. Okay, so if you're, and again, that would be back over in right about here. Okay, so it would look something like this once we get the actual entry to it. Okay, which we don't have right now. Green, something along those lines. Okay, so again, waiting for a confirmation somewhere over here. Okay, let's duplicate that. I'm expecting that will pop in probably over in this area. So if we can get it over here, look for somewhat of a kind of a drop to the downside. It's not quite there yet, but again, it eventually will get there. Okay, so that's what we're looking for in this pair. Going Euro Aussie. We'll see if we got any type of spike on the Euro Aussie with the news. I'm really surprised by that thing didn't move more than that. Okay. Euro Aussie still, that didn't move much either. Man, people just don't believe the Aussie news tonight. All right, so we are still stuck at this racetrack. We never got an entry to the downside, and we've been talking about retaking this entire piece. You guys will see that, again, there was the kind of rally back down again, because, again, here's where we are right now at 19. Here is where we were last night. Okay, so we did go down. We did grab orders, and that order just acted as an actual, a huge launching point to the top side. Okay, we are based. Okay, so at this point, let's remove this one as a target. Remove some of these until we get closer back in there again. Okay, what we're looking to do now is take over this area. You know what? I'll do it on this one up here. We're looking to retake that area. Okay. Have not gotten an entry. Have not gotten any confirmation that we are turning. There is a little bit of level. You can see a wick here. So, I mean, if I could find it on the 4 hour. Yeah, I can go back. It's this level right here that it ran into. Okay. A little bit of an area above. It's basically this level right here. Okay. So we are hitting a level. Again, when we get some type of confirmation or a break below, definitely be taking a short into this one. Again, a little bit of wick over wick here, but then there's nothing. I mean, there's no wick here all the way up. I mean, it's a pretty nice move to the downside for this one. If this does not go any higher, again, your risk in this one would look something along. Whoops. Ooh, it's getting laggy on me. Something along those lines. Okay. Would be, again, is a 30-minute. You may be able to get a little bit better of entry, but we'll see where it's all going to depend on to where the confirmation comes in. That red, green, red confirmation that we are going down again. When we have that confirmation, we'll get a better kind of look at this one. And again, this one is about 155, about 160 pips to the downside. Okay. Edit that, change that to green, just so it's not hard. All right. So that's where we are with that. Let's look at pound yen. Oh, it could be cutting in, I don't know. Maybe. They better not be still working on it. I know they had to go inside for weather, but I don't know. Could be. All right, so again, another yen pair, another collapse through to the downside, and really besides the retrace right here, this is not really giving us a whole lot of retracements at all, okay? A little bit here, but again, this is one of those ones, just hold on for dear life. And again, it was a downtrend. Okay, you had a downtrend setup, right? I removed the green arrows, but here's the arrows, right? There was your downtrend setup signal, and there's where it hit the zone. And you have gotten no confirmation to get out yet. It's here just because of the timing, but it's actually, I don't know if I can move it. There's where the actual touch is. Okay. Right? There's your touch. And again, we have not gotten, here's kind of one, but not really. I guess you could have taken yourself out there, but for the most part to the downside, it hasn't run into anything. Where it is right now too, let's see. These were the two. This was the old zone that we were worried about that it bounced off of. Okay, it did bounce. It came up and then kind of continued to the downside and punched through. So we're kind of clear at this point. There's not really a whole lot, like I said, and we can go back 12 years and find the next level to the downside. But yeah, this one is yeah, more yen strength. About the only thing that's going to flip this around is if the pound says that they've found oil on the island, or basically the yen intervenes and says, "Hey, we're way too strong at this point. We need to intervene and make ourselves weak." Claremont said, "Can your Aussie move 100 on a Friday?" Absolutely, it can. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, easy. Oops, I think I killed IG. Open platform. I'm trying to get that free account from IG. They haven't given it to me yet. Yeah, here, look. Okay, it's much less laggy now. So I must have broke something. Oops, here. There you go. So the averages are about here. The average is about 80 pips. And again, you see it's actually even higher on some of the peaks. We're already up to about 84 right now. Okay, so again, we have movement. So yeah, it can move 100 pips tomorrow. But you got to ask yourself, what kind of news is there? That's the big question. Is there going to be enough news that can drive this? So, is it possible? Can it? Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is you have to figure out. I mean, it is a Friday, but you can hold over the weekend, right? So you could potentially do that if you wanted to. So that's something you got to figure out for your risk tolerance. But yeah, you could absolutely move there. So again, like I said, pound yen, yeah, it's loading much faster. I don't know what it was. I guess they may have had a hiccup in the system. Yeah, you guys will see. So not really stopping, not really waiting. Again, if anything, I'd wait till I have a green candle. If I want to continue this to the downside, it's going to be harder to pick, like I said, a demand zone here. But when we do get a green pullback, you will see it. That's where I'd be looking to go back. And again, one level just to kind of mark off, it's not there yet, right? But would be this. Oh, not that. Oh, I can't go back. Oh, well, this is the, this is what I was looking for. Okay, let's change this to blue. Change that to blue. There you go. So just mark off those levels, because again, when you do get a green pullback, it needs to go somewhere. Okay, so when you get that green pullback, that's how you grab into the next one of these things. Okay, but again, this is a nice kind of push. It's man, total right now. I mean, you're 343 pips into this thing right now, with not a lot of kind of nothing that tells you that it's going to get out using these two time frames. So huge movement. Okay, get rid of that to the side. All right, let's look at pound US. I have a lot of windows open. There we go. Whoa, why do I have news up here? All right, so pound US, still in the area. Okay, so again, we had this area to the downside. This is an interesting one. It did pull back. It did go lower, but it really has just kind of gone sideways, right? Not a very big day today. A little bit of wick up and down. Really no true direction. I thought we would get more out of this one. I'm kind of surprised. And again, I think a lot of people were wrapped up in what was going on earlier in the week. This one, I don't know. This one is just not moving either. Maybe it's good. I mean, this is August. I mean, it's August 1st, but we should still have more movement than this. And this is kind of surprising that it's not there. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we're at the bottom of this zone. I'm waiting for this demand zone to get hit down at 120 kind of 30 area, but it just sucked into that zone. Even if it pulls down a little bit to retrace, I'm not really interested in taking it. For me, I mean, again, I'm just waiting until we get down to this kind of purple zone. Okay, the purple zone is all I'm kind of focused on right now. And the way that this zone formed with this kind of high spike candle, I mean, this went higher than the prior base, so. And they're mirror candles, right? It was one up, one down, and it was back to where it came to. So not even anything that I'm super in love with. Like I said, for this one, I'm waiting till we get down to this area to do anything. Going into a Friday, yeah, this one's kind of, fast expiring on me. All right. Going to the pound New Zealand, because people had asked for that one as well. Pound New Zealand basically hit our target and is now retracing. You guys can see we talked about kind of its retracement back up again to this level, and obviously it went past that. Again, anytime you see an extended range candle like this, something that is this long, this went from 186.54 to 183 here. I'll just measure it. If that was a simple one, I would do it, but that was 327 pips in one day, or 324 pips in one day. You got to assume that there's going to be a retrace, and it did. It retraced all the way up. It actually hit the full profit target, and now since that time, it's gotten super, super choppy, okay, and just kind of stopped. Went back down, and again, it retraced this kind of smaller. It retraced this smaller racetrack, right? Because again, straight up, almost, literally almost straight up, came across and it retraced back down. And again, the start of the move was this candle, this green one here, okay? So here would have been your target to play this reversal. You guys can see what it ran into and bounced. Okay, it hit here. So again, there's intraday plays all the time. Now it's consolidating. It's got to kind of figure out where it wants to go. Really, for me on this one, I'm waiting to see if we can get up into this zone, up in the 186.27, or if we can get back down to this 183.05. Anything in the middle has just gotten a little bit too choppy for me. Yeah, there's nothing else there. But again, important to understand when you see large kind of extended range candles like this, expect somewhat of a retrace, particularly when it stops into a zone, which this one did exactly. Okay. Again, you guys can look. This is the largest candle in this entire chart. So again, not a pair you look at all the time, but not a pair that's bad to kind of just kind of see what it did and see if anything's interesting on it. Check it once a day. 30 seconds, move on. Okay. Dollar Swiss. So Dollar Swiss retraced, did the same exact thing. Okay, it stopped where we kind of had drawn where it was before. Again, we dropped the lower time frame. This is the one I think we dropped to a 3 hour. You could see it. Yeah, you guys see the wick over here on the 3 hour. That's again what we stopped, and that's kind of where we bounced right now. This retracement up, again, we were looking for some type of a confirmation to the downside because again, it did explode. It went crazy, went up, boom, pushed high, and again we started to come back down again. It bounced off the area, pushed through, stopped right here, and then kind of triggered. So you could use this area as your risk level. It went back down, and again, it stopped where we thought it would. We had a kind of a trigger set down here. This would have been, actually, this was the first profit target, if you guys remember. The first profit target was drawn on the 30-minute at the start of the move, which is right here. And again, you can see it chop back and forth. It came down, and it chopped back and forth on that level, and then went lower into this kind of sideways basing area, which is also what we found on the 3 hour. Okay, next target to the downside is going to be, what is this, 98.55. Okay, that would be the next one to the downside, and again, that is a target for this piece here. That's using the top of the red body. That's where it launched. Okay, that's why we chose this purple line here, and that's why it kind of bounced, because again, this was the start of the move. As you guys can see, here's 19, so you can see where we were last night. We were right here. Okay, so we were on this pound. Actually, I think it burst right through the top last night, and we're kind of seeing what it was going to do. So what you would have done is drop down over here to look for some type of an entry. And again, this one would have been held. You would have held fine on this one. Looking for a good red, green, red. You actually would have got it right here. Okay, here's a red. The green didn't go as high. And there's your red entry. So if you're drawing your risk level on this one, using the 30-minute, your risk level would have been there. Okay, and that is 10 pips. Right? When we talked about targets, again, here's the purple line that we had as the target to the downside, because again, that was the start of this kind of huge kind of parabolic move to the top side. And back down to the purple line right there is 68 pips. So basically a 7-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade. Okay. And again, you could have gone a little bit lower, but once it got choppy like this, you would have been out. Just take your money again. This was the big, again, look at all this little tiny choppy stuff. Boom, boom, big explosion up. Parabolic candle, look for the retrace back down again, and now we're just waiting. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now. Okay, I don't know, going into a Friday, I don't know if I'd necessarily jump into this one tomorrow. Although, wouldn't necessarily be surprised if there's some movement in this one tomorrow. I just have a feeling with everything that's happened, with Trump making the comments today about the tariffs that we're putting in 30 days, when technically we could start them next week. But, he's given everybody the leeway saying, hey, in September, we're going to put, all as it is a negotiation tactic at this point, everybody knows that. But, China's going to have some type of response back to it, they probably agreed upon this already going into the whole thing, basically saying that, hey, you know what? Even though we just had trade talks last week, I'm going to slap tariffs on you on Monday. I'm sure China already knew about it, and I'm sure that China already said to the U.S., okay, well, if you do that, we're going to say that also, because then it makes their governments look good when they finally come to an agreement. And I think it's convenient he waited till September. So if he suddenly removes those in September, I mean, look at what's happening in November, right? So again, I think it's all just political, posturing. I love that. It's, we're going to put those tariffs in 6 months if you don't do something. Okay, but again, I think their response will come in tomorrow, and we'll see the market react to it tomorrow. So I think we will see some more movement in this one. Okay. Let's drop down and look at dollar CAD. Now, dollar CAD does have. See, I believe dollar CAD has some data tomorrow as well. Drag this in tomorrow. Yeah, CAD is their trade balance tomorrow. Trade balance does have the ability to move it. I think non-farm payroll is going to unfortunately be what's kind of sucking us in. So as far as playing the CAD in this pair tomorrow, I'd probably be a little bit more restrictive with it. Now, we were looking to get long in this pair to the top side with a eventual target up top. Haven't really gotten a great entry into it. I mean, we popped out and we kind of were right here at this level, and then sucked literally right back into the center. So, one thing you would have to look for on this one is see this kind of, again, it is a double top. I got that one. Okay, it is a double wick, but we literally popped into that area. So I don't know that I would just naturally blindly say, okay, we broke it, I'm in, right? Because there's a green, red, green. Yeah, it is, but until it cleared this, again, it was still an obstacle, and you guys can see it. It literally sucked right back in the middle of the zone. So we had the trade. If you were in it, you'd be down a couple pips right now if you actually made the entry. I don't know that necessarily you would have gotten in on this entry. Even, I mean, again, this is a 10-minute chart, so maybe you wouldn't have. There's the 30-minute, and again, you guys can see there's the top. So that's kind of what we ran into, and it didn't even break as high. So you definitely would have wanted to drop to a lower time frame on this one. There's the 5-minute. It's kind of the same situation. You had to respect that we had this level of basing right here, right? I mean, it popped up to it, but then sucked right back in. So, out the bottom, back up the top, right back. I mean, literally, it's right in the middle. So, kind of a hard trade. I still think we have something to the top side, but I think we need to kind of breach that level. We'll see how this one turns out. I had a trade set for this one and didn't take entry on it. It just, something about it just didn't make sense. So, again, this is going back, and you guys can see this is over here. It just not there. Okay, sometimes you just gotta not take it. So, but again, even if you were in, you wouldn't have gotten stopped out yet. Okay, but we'll see how it plays out. This will have some movement tomorrow because of non-farm. All right, looking at dollar yen. Obviously, another yen pair. You guys can pretty much tell what this chart is going to look like. This one went straight down. So we had this little area of risk that we had drawn right here, and price did. It went down and kind of bowled out here. Again, this is that whole kind of cup and handle kind of pattern. Knew that one. Okay. It spiked back up again. It actually spiked, interestingly enough. Again, this one would have failed. It kind of, again, you would have been up almost 2-1 in this trade. So you would have, had you gotten busted by this one, it would have been a break-even trade for you anyway. Had you looked back to this, I mean, this is kind of where this gets funky, right? I mean, there's technically a zone, right? If we cover that across, I mean, look where it spiked. I mean, it spiked literally just grazed the top of it before collapsing. So I guess you could say, had you been up in here, you could have taken this one. We knew that it was there. It's quite a large zone to take risk on that one to go right in. And it really, I mean, it gave you this kind of signal here before it started to fall, and then just got faster and faster and faster. So was this one tradable? Yes. I didn't assume that this one, again, would go as far as it actually did. You guys can see that we had this little profit target down here at 107.90. It went much lower than I thought it was going to go to. This is a huge, huge day. And again, whenever you see a day this big, you're always looking for somewhat of a retrace. Basically at this point, I'm looking for some type of confirmation that we've stopped. We're at the very bottom of this level here. And again, you can analyze that level. If I had to draw it, probably like that. Okay, is how I would be drawing it on the 4-hour. Okay, you guys can see it here. I'll zoom so you guys can get a better kind of view of it. Actually, I would probably go to there. Okay, so again, price didn't spend much time there. It did pull back. Okay, you guys can see it's kind of reeling back from it a little bit. If we can start to see some type of confirmation, this risk level is pretty tiny. Let me see what the risk in this is. And you're talking about 20, about 17. So again, a little bit more than I would like to take on a retest, but this is a pretty big retest. You don't really see, same thing. You saw this gigantic kind of spike down here last time, and what did it do? It spent half the day rallying up, and then what did it do? Basically went right back to the retest. You don't see a ton of moves. Same thing. You see a big candle here, right? Went up, kind of went sideways, broke kind of that basing level, and went right back down to the start. So whenever you see those things, you tend to get those type of moves. Big drop down, big back up again. Big piece down when it stopped, went almost all the way back up again. So very, very common pattern, but this is probably the largest candle on the board. So I am definitely looking for a retest opportunity to take this to the top side. But I need confirmation. Without confirmation, there's no way I'm taking this one. This for in that daily zone. In here, or are you talking about this little one up here? You're talking about this one? I'm assuming you mean this. This is basically, yeah, there's a little dot right here, but you could say this is a single wick against a wall. And the reason why that's there too, just so you know, is do you see this line that we have here? I'll make it darker so you can see it. You see that profit target? That was the start of this move. That's why you have the hiccup there. So if we go down to probably like a 2 hour, you can see the bounce off it. Yeah, you see over here, you see it coincides with this piece. That's what caused it. So this is actually a reaction from this zone. Okay, so it's not necessarily a fresh piece. It's a hiccup. It's a reaction. Can we see it on? You can see it over here on the 30-minute, but let's see if we can see it on the 1 hour. Yeah. See how it's green there? And that is off of this. Here's the actual zone. See this green, this line going through here? I'll change this line to, we'll do it to there. See that line? Oh, it's the bottom line. Sorry. It's this one. This was the target where we drew the target. Apply that. Turn it back to green. Okay. Right. We drew this one off of, I want to move it. There we go. There's the top of the body. And that's what we ran into. That's where it hit here, popped up, and then broke through, retested that zone, and then dropped. So it's actually a retest, pop, down, and then retest up again. It's just finding on the right candles. But that's why that exists. That's why the wick overlap. No, from the top of the fall. What, from this? Or are you talking about over here? Which one are you talking about? On the 4 hour? Talking about here? Oops, hold on. It jumped on me. Talking about here? Yeah, this. Yeah, these two lines. Those two, right? I'm assuming that's what you meant, right? On the 4 hour? This is where the delay kills it. You're like, no, not the delay, not the delay. Yeah, those two things. Yeah. And again, you would have had to have that on your charts ahead of time. But yes, yeah, it's right in there. But again, be careful because it did breach the top. So again, had we marked that zone up at the top, I didn't think it was going to go. I was focusing on this one right here. Okay. Had I been looking at this level, yes, you would have dropped down to the lower time frame to see if you could shrink this, because this is way too much risk. I mean, this level here is what? 75 pips. I am absolutely not taking a 75 pip risk trade. I'm just not doing it. There's no way. But would you go over on this side and then do the same thing? And again, what's up there? Where are the potential zones up the top? 14. Now again, for me, Josh, part of this today was like not having the internet and them knocking on the door. Just kind of like, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to try to force this today. So but again, yes, that's something you would have absolutely snagged. 14 is 1,000 times more palatable for me than a 75 pip risk trade. So again, catchable just like the other ones were. I just didn't have this one drawn out. So good snag on that one, but that's exactly what I want you guys to do. So that means, Josh, you should feel confident that you are definitely paying attention and you are definitely grasping the concept of the wick over wicks and how powerful they can absolutely be on that one. Well, with that being said, because you knew that was there, how many pips did you take out of this one today? Because right now it is, let's see. Right now it is, I mean, it went as far as 226, and right now it's 202 pips. So how many pips did you get out of it today, Josh? We're going to wait, guys. Everybody look. And don't worry, YouTube folks, I will definitely let you know what Josh's answer is. Because he's on the spot now. Because he was like, yep, there's a wick over wick on that one. So he knew it, but let's see what his, see how many pips he pulled out of it. I need some Jeopardy music. Does anybody have some Jeopardy music? I don't know if that's copyrighted, though, if I get busted for that one. Josh went silent on me. All right. Here's the thing, Josh. If you see things like that, definitely take them, man. Take them. That would have been a heck of a trade today. I mean, heck, even if you just took it down to this, this next level, 0. Ernest scared me about asking for confirmation. Oh, wait, hold on. There's an emoji for this, I think. Hold on. This one and then this one. Oh, nope. I don't need 2 of them. Crap. Hold on. Oh, there's an emoji. There we go. That's for you, Josh. Remember, all trading decisions are solely your responsibilities. You should have got into that one. Ernest can't skate or nobody. James is jumping on Ernest now. Yeah, I mean, that's a good one, right? I mean, it's hard. Again, you had confirmation. You eventually did get confirmation on this one. You wouldn't have suffered a lot of heat on it, right? If I can make the candles bigger so you guys can see it. I mean, technically speaking, here's your red, there's your green, there's your red, there's your confirmation. Right there, 109.15. If you didn't like that one, here's your red, there's your green, there's your red, there's your entry at 89.97. You whacked off 15 pips more. There's 2 confirmations technically. Two. So yeah, there was confirmations on this one. But again, this is why you guys got to confidence. You did the level, but you got to, sometimes you just got to pull the trigger on things like that. And think about it. I mean, what was your risk on this one? 14 pips? At the end of the day, Josh, if you lose 14 pips, is it the end of the world? No. I mean, where was your target? That's the important thing too. Yeah, but I went to sleep before. Lame. See, it's that sleeping thing again. You guys can't do that sleeping thing. That's how James and Ernest are making all this money. You guys know, I think 3 nights in a row, James has basically been like, hey, the alert went off. I woke up. I made money. I'm going back to bed, guys. Like, that's the way to do it. He's got it all figured out. Hopefully, you guys all get there. Ernest, don't sleep. Yeah, exactly. But again, that's huge, huge, huge movement, guys. I mean, this, again, understand, though, again, as we're joking around with all this, again, your profit target on this one probably would have been this bump. Maybe, this bump down here. Planning this in the beginning, there's no way anybody would have known that this was going to go as far as it did. I mean, 200 pips in one day is absolutely huge. I mean, we can pull the ATR indicator on this one. You guys can see, obviously today got big, but here's like, this is kind of average. It's 50 pips. This thing did 4 days worth of movement in one day. So that's a lot. I mean, it's, you get those home run trades, like you guys remember back in the day when Jack did that $70,000. I mean, it took like the entire month of December to do it. It's kind of the same thing. Like you see that type of setup and that type of opportunity like once a year. And when you get into, you're like, thank God I found it. Thank God I got into it on that day. It's the same thing today. I mean, your analysis was right, but sometimes you just got to pull the trigger and take a risk. I mean, understand, trading is about risk and managing risk. The first thing we want to do is focus on protecting our account. But number 2 is if we don't put our capital at risk at all, it's not going to grow. It's not going to make any money for us. So we do have to control the risk, but we do have to put it at risk sometimes. And 14 pip risk on that one, even with a standard lot, I mean, all day you would just got more positive, more positive, more positive. You felt good about this. You would have got a little scared in here. And even if you got out there, oh well. You're up 200 pips. Okay. Just to give you an example on this one, what did I say? Even off this one confirmation, it's 202 pips. I mean, this is what your day could have looked like had you taken that one, right? It's $9.33, right? So 933 times 202, $1,800 in one day. Okay. If you have a weekly goal, if you want to make, $8,000 to $10,000 a month, you need to make $2,000 a week. I mean, if you want to make $100K a year trading, figure you're going to take 2 weeks vacation, right? You're going to trade 50 weeks a year. You need to make $2,000 a week. Had you done this on a Monday, you're basically done for the week. You can take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off, or just kind of mess around for a bit and go for that extra $120. Yep, I'm rewatching the psychology portion of the course today. Okay, so I'm going to add in there, in the notes section, don't listen to Ernest. No, I'm just kidding. Listen to Ernest, he's good. Print out a screenshot of those and those show quite a bit. Yeah, so yeah, nice trade. But again, hopefully you learned a lesson from this one, Josh, and hopefully everybody did learn a lesson in here as well with it. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next one, New Zealand dollar. And actually, where is the trade that I said I would go over today? There's one of them that I said I would go through. Was that this one, Josh? I was in the car driving. I'm like looking at this thing and I'm like, oh God. Yeah, that was this one. Okay, so here's what he sends me, guys. So this is what he has. And he was asking about the double wick here. Okay, so let me explain this real quick. All right, so when I talk about double wicks and things that you have to be concerned about they're not, the levels are not as strong, it's not something like this. It's more things like this. Okay, if you see two wicks kind of by themselves, like over here, those are the ones that you kind of ignore, because what happens is it's established in one and it's clear to the next, and it's kind of like a blah, right? Because the wicks are at exactly the same spot. This one's a little tiny bit off, but something like this, don't be as concerned, because it was literally bouncing back and forth in this area. It's literally just snaking through. But what I really care about this one is what happens next after this area. Something happened right here. Why did price not go any lower? And hopefully you guys can see my mouse moving here, right? Why did it not go any lower than right here? Okay. Well, the reason it did is because buyers stepped in and went crazy and launched it all the way up. Okay, so yes, this would have been a profit target. Okay, again, if you look over here, if you erase this candle, right, the green is the action. Technically, it's sideways because it's engulfed by the red. But again, when it popped all the way up to this section up here, again, that's kind of an entry, right? Here's your entry. Here's your racetrack, right? Because the rules change for racetracks. This thing launched forward. Here's your little tiny risk level, right? We're playing the retracement. It came all the way back down again. This is your actual target. Okay, so you were attempting to go long. And again, you could. I guess you could, right? Because if you're looking at the curve, this is at the bottom of the curve. You are looking to go long. But I understand you were already in a short position. Okay? And the start of the move would be the target. Now, could this be the eventual takeoff point? Sure, it could be. But as far as I'm concerned over here, it's nothing. And again, if we're looking for between these two time frames, here, this is all red, right? So that would be called the what? That would be your action candle, right? So then we focus on the anchor, and the anchor is here, okay? Well, if this is the bottom of the anchor, this is an anchor break. It means it's a short trade now. We're looking for short opportunities, not long opportunities. So again, that's piling into a short. The fact that it bounced off of an upper level, the fact that it's a racetrack into a level, this yells short, the anchor break yells short. So when everything's yelling short, you don't necessarily want to go long. And in this case, we know what happened, right? This happened. Okay. So your area, I believe, was this, I think. Is that where you had it? Yeah, so it looks a little bit different, but yes. Yeah, is it 15? Whoops. Yeah, it was this one. This is where you're talking about. Okay. So that's kind of what happened. What does an anchor break anchor? All right, so basically inside of the forex class, okay, the forex class, and again, I say forex because it's written off of forex, but it really works for everything. What we do is it's a trend, basically a trend pullback system, okay. What you need to do is uncover the definition of the trend, and it uses a couple different terms. It uses an action and an anchor, and the anchor is what we use to determine trend. Basically, if price you're using that anchor to determine whether it's an uptrend or a downtrend. And if the color before the anchor is engulfing it, it's a sideways trade. You don't look at it anymore. You move on and just forget that the thing even existed. Okay, so in this case, on the daily, from his picture, this is technically a sideways trade. We're not looking at this as our large time frame. In this one, if you look at his if you move down to the 4 hour and use that as his large time frame, then you can say it's not sideways because the anchor is outside of the prior color, but the anchor is broken, okay? This is the top here and this is the bottom. You guys remember on the NinjaTrader charts how I drew lines? Yeah, it's a forex class, but it technically is just teaching you guys how to trade price action. But yes, I use all forex charts in there because I am primarily a forex trader. But yes, that class. Um, and the anchor break is a different. It's more of an advanced strategy. I don't go fully into it. I was trying to leave that one up to Rob to write, but then everything happened. But so it's something I don't cover as often. But yes, an anchor break is typically a no-no for a trend following system. It means there has been an official reversal. It's gone to the downside. And again, so everything in this one was screaming down. And again, we know what happened. I mean, this is at the 108.12 range, and we know that this one went all the way down to 107.09. So it went over 100 pips below the area. This yellow mark is where his was, and again, that was a profit target of what we're looking for. Okay, I'm your forex class. Write it. All right, let's go down to New Zealand. I haven't actually set up. We put this on here the other night. Daily 4 hours 30 minutes. And we talked about this. So we had one break, two breaks, and look what happened, guys. Remember we talked about it? It's like, will it break the third time? It did. Okay. There was one. There was two. And again, we talked about a break below this level, and it did. It broke lower, and it's kind of stuck now, down in this wick over wick. So again, looking for a retrace. Yeah, I want it to pull back. If I can get a pullback in, I'd be looking to take this a little bit lower. Right now, again, it's downtrend confirmed. We're at a downtrend confirmed. Even going to the lower time frame, is it pulling back to anything right now? There's nothing really until we get back up in this area. It just is really kind of just gone flat. Really kind of just, again, it's done this little just do back and forth again. And we're talking about going from 73. It's basically a 30 pip range, and this one has just gone back and forth in. So it's taken hours to do that 30 pips. No real tradable setup. Okay. Cat Swiss. Somebody asked about that last night. Where's Brother Rob? Brother Rob is busy. He was traveling last week to the Keys with his girlfriend. I think Brother Rob is in love. I actually talked to him earlier today. He said, listen to this. Maybe he'll come on. I told him he needs to log in more. Rob messaged me like 2 days ago and said, hey, bro, I had a dream about you. And I didn't see it. And he said, hey, you couldn't even write back. And I said back to him, I was like, was I at least hot? Like, let me know. And he's like, no. He's like, you asked me for a favor. You asked me to pick up a student and take him somewhere. And I was like, okay. He didn't tell me which student, so I have no idea who, if it's any of you guys or not. But supposedly I called him and asked him to pick up a student and drive him somewhere. So I don't know what that means, if there's a hidden message in that somewhere or what it is. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's going to take one of you guys and help you guys get funded. I don't know. But that's what the dream was. And then I told him we had a ton of people on last night. So he'll be back in pretty soon. Rob had some medical issues that he had to deal with, and he's recovering from that right now. So he has like a GI problem, but he's all good. Don't worry, guys. He's healthy and everything like that, and he's on the mend and he's on his way back. So tell him to call me. I can fix that love bug. What kind of dreams? I don't know, Aaron. I honestly don't know. All right, but yeah. So again, this one's popping. Huge drop today, again, off this area, right? We talked about this. We mentioned before that there really wasn't anything clean that was there. And this was the one level that we were way too close to it. But once we had this pop down, it became a more viable area. And we had this little green area saying it wasn't bad. There was like 3 candles here. This was much cleaner the way that it was formed. And again, you guys can see it popped down. You got to about almost a 3-to-1. And price came back up again and then collapsed all the way back down to the level. This was a bit too far down the radar for me. I mentioned yesterday that we had to be careful because we had the gap here, but then we had the other gap, and you guys can see, look at this. I told you that, basically the entire gap candle is something that you have to focus on, and that's literally where we drove back down to. We had pushed all the way back up again, and this was just junk. Collapsed all the way back down to where the gap is, and it's actually, it should be, click. It should be there. Okay, hold on. I thought I had it on the top, and it didn't. Sorry. There. Okay, see it's at the top of this candle. Very top of the candle. You guys see where it stopped at. So again, that's always an area that you need, whenever there's gaps, you need to watch out for that. So we'll see again. This is pretty far down the radar for me. I don't necessarily trade this one or even look at this one too often, but not surprised. Again, here was your 4-hour zone. Grab the 4-hour zone. Boom. To the downside. All right. Now, again, this one did conflict with trend a little bit, but again, once again, anchor break. Okay. This was red. We didn't look at this one. We looked back, and it's kind of sideways, right? But the anchor's still there. Once the anchor broke, that was your trigger to go south, and the end result was it dropped all the way down. Look at CAD yen. So if you want to play tomorrow, the CAD news release, okay, Again, that is when that's popping up. This would be the CAD trade balance. Okay, now again, you guys can see previously CAD had a good balance, right? They had a surplus. Now it's saying that they're negative, which is definitely something that's interesting because you don't see that too often for the CAD. So, what have we seen in the CAD yen? Well, obviously it has yen in it, so it was going down, which also opens us up for somewhat of a retrace tomorrow. If we have CAD strength? Okay. Now, we marked this up before that when we mentioned. I like the area up here on the 4-hour. I like this one. It didn't even pause at this level. Even looking down at the 30-minute, you can see it really just drove through. Although it did retest up a bit. You guys can see that. If I extend this out, I'm not going to cheat on this one. Look, I'll put this right here at the very bottom. And you guys can see it did, in fact, break and retest. Okay, like the other two did. So it did go down. It did come up again. And there was an entry on this one. So I guess you could have traded this one had you been, sitting here, and actually timed this one correctly. The risk was rather small on it as well. You're talking about 8 pip risk, and just the burst down would have been about 89 pips. So I mean that's another 10-to-1 trade. You don't see those things every single day, but again, momentum breakout strategy. Like I said, it's the Harry Potter trade, the one I've been talking about forever. Okay, it's like the easiest trade, the easiest breakout in the world. It's something I learned years ago. I'm trying to think. Was it? It may have been Craig, but it may have been Justin. Actually, you know what? It wasn't Craig. It was Dan. Dan was a guy that used to teach, and Dan was like a 5th-generation trader. Crazy guy, but this was like his main strategy. All he did was trade momentum breakouts. He didn't trade, reversals or anything like that. Didn't jump into like pullbacks. He only traded momentum breakouts. That was like his strategy. That was like his bread and butter. And yeah, tiny pop and also 30 hit. Let me go check back on that one. But yeah, so again, you could have grabbed it here. Where we are, again, we're getting really low. We are getting into, you guys will see right here. Ernest, I'll jump back in a second on that one. You guys can see it stopped inside of this demand area. We'll see if it's able to do anything. It drove pretty deep, so if it does start to drive back down again, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes lower and tries to take out this bottom section down here. Starting at 80.20 down to 79.90 is a small area on the daily. But again, look for news on this one tomorrow. See where it's popped at this point. I am going to look for some type of a retracement back up again. Profit target most likely for me would be the 82 area. Okay. Yeah, James, it's a great strategy. As long as you can get the zones that are, the good zones that are in there. There's so many strategies out there, James, that are great. It's really you just have to become the master of what's going to work best for you. Like I said, wick over wicks are a great strategy. If you, it's kind of one of those things. The more advanced you become as a trader, the better off you'll be. As beginners, we take one strategy and we win or lose. And, eventually what happens, from a guy that, taught me a lot of stuff, what happens is you have your stop loss. When your stop loss gets broken out, you should have the ability to know whether it's time for you to reverse your trade and go in the opposite direction. And think about it. In this case, right, if we go back to this situation, this was his risk, right? This was his risk level. Well, what happened? It broke it, so he lost money here, but it came back up and retested it. So could he have taken the same risk to the downside? Yeah, and what would have been the result? He would have made bank. He would have made still like 200 pips off that area, or like 180 pips off that area, minus what he lost, the 14 pips or whatever to the downside. But a lot of times what happens is psychologically, what happens is you take the loss, you're like, oh, I got to move on. I got to forget this one. I can't think about it anymore. Man, where did I screw up? What did I do? Meanwhile, the trade technically is still, you should still be able to trade it. If you get stopped out, you should know when it's time to flip. You should also know when it's a sideways market not to get chopped up, or have a rule in your trade plan about it. I mean, your rule in the trade plan is if you're going to get stopped out, take the reversal of it. But if you get stopped out a second time on the same move, it's just a chop market and you move on. You can add rules like that into your trading system. Okay. So with that being said, that's the last pair on here. That's going to be my gem of the evening, knowing when to take the loss, but also when to reverse your loss and go in the other direction. All right. And again, as you guys get more advanced, you guys will be able to pick those strategies up. Like I said, a lot of movement today, all yen based. No one would ever be able to predict it. I wish I was able to be at the computer more today, but thank you, Verizon guy. If he shows up tomorrow, I'm going to tell him just to, don't mess with me. I got chopped up today after the drop. Yeah. Again, James, got to know when to play the strategy to the right side. You know, a lot of times if you're trying to catch that falling knife and it keeps going lower, 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 again, if it's going lower but pulls back, that's when you pull the trigger to jump on the trend. Don't try to pick the bottom. All right? So, guys, I will catch you guys. Have a great weekend. Obviously, no chart school tomorrow night because it is Friday. I will talk to you guys on Monday, and I will be on Discord tomorrow. So, if you guys haven't already, please do me a favor. Go over to like this video on YouTube. If you guys haven't, go over and please follow us on YouTube to make sure we can get up to our 100 follows, and we can get our channel branded for us. All right, guys, take care, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.